Republicans are busy cutting your healthcare and your food assistance and using that money to fund a $1 billion a day war. And somehow they're confused on why they're losing popularity. Luckily, we have Jessica Tarlov to explain it to them.
You guys aren't paying attention to what's actually happening right now across the country and the experience of the average American, and also in elections that we have been having since 2024. Every prominent Democrat, save for Kamala Harris and from what we've heard from Joe Biden, has talked explicitly about mistakes that were made throughout the Biden years, talking about open border problems and how that wasn't addressed on time, media strategy problems, telling people, no, your wallet is fuller than you think it is, or we have a faster recovery than everyone else in the G7, so you should be thankful for that we prioritized cultural issues over economic issues, or that was people's perception of us. So I just don't see that as reality.
I don't need to tell you this, but apparently Republican leadership needs to hear it. Eggs are still expensive, rent is brutal, people are working 2 jobs and still having to decide between groceries and medication. That is the reality for millions of Americans. And Republicans are sitting on television trying to tell you you're wrong, or that the economy is actually fine. Actually, inflation is this number, not that number, and the gas prices spike is just temporary for maybe 30 or 60 or 90 or 100 days. All of this talk to ignore the fact that people are struggling. Tarlov's point is simple. You can go through the evidence. The numbers are there. People are worse off today than they were before. No amount of spin changes what it actually costs to fill up your grocery cart.
Saying that this is just temporary. It's temporary because of a choice that the president made that he doesn't have the backing of the American people
to secure the people from nuclear weapons. And I would just note,
no evidence that there was
food inflation. Food inflation was flat. Medical care costs declined. Used car prices declined.
If you want to say this is good, okay. GDP Q4 revised down 2 days ago to 0.5%. The consumer sentiment index, lowest in history. They've been tracking it since the 1960s.
Temporary is always the word they reach for when they're talking about the Iran war, and that is frustrating to hear for many reasons, but mainly because these price increases that we're going through are not because of some external shock or some issue nobody saw coming. One person decided to wreak havoc on the global economy, and that's why we're seeing price increases. This is self-inflicted. Trump decided, without congressional approval or approval from any of us, the American people, that he was going to start a war and spend $1 billion a day on it. Consumer sentiment is at its lowest point since they started measuring it in the 1960s. Americans haven't felt this bad about the economy since before disco was invented, since when my parents were born. But Republicans continue to try to act like Trump is correct to spend billions of dollars of taxpayer money in the same year that he cut trillions of dollars from healthcare and food assistance, things that would actually improve your life.
So I'm sorry the gas prices are going up, but help is on its way, and your national security, yes, is even more important than your pocketbook.
Senator Marshall's net worth is over $7 million, by the way, in case you were wondering. So yeah, it's easy to say, I'm sorry your gas prices are going up when you're a millionaire, and also, oh yeah, your gas bills are paid for by the taxpayers. He says your ability to pay your bills is less important than whatever they've decided today's crisis is. And he calls it your pocketbook, actually, like you're some sort of Victorian grandmother pinching pennies to buy a hat pin. Whatever. This is the move Republicans always make when the economic numbers get bad enough that they can't spend them anymore. They make up a war or a threat or an enemy, and then they tell you to stop being so selfish about your rent because we have to go deal with this other thing that's going on. You're struggling to fill up your gas tank? Can't afford groceries? That's not their problem. You should be more patriotic, actually. They're focused on a war that no Americans want, and I'll say it over and over and over again, this is at the cost of your healthcare and your food assistance and your childcare benefits. They are cutting the things that actually make your life better in order to fund this war.
Should the American people be ready for more increased prices, especially at the gas tank, considering that this does not look like it's going to resolve very quickly as far as the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, the president said, Brett, that yes, gas prices are higher. Yes, energy prices are higher. First of all, they're higher from a baseline where we've never had the terrible energy prices that we had of the last administration. So we come at this from a position of strength. But Brett, absolutely, we know the American people are hurting. That's why that we're negotiating so aggressively to try to get the energy prices to come down. We're going to keep on working at it. I do think that we're in a place where we've accomplished our objectives. We can start to wind this thing down. I'd much rather wind this thing down with a big successful negotiation. But regardless, the president said this is not going to go on forever. That's never his intention. And I think because of that, the energy prices, while painful, are not going to be around forever.
Should we all pause and pull out a calendar? How many months are we into this term? 15 months. That is way more than a year. And JD Vance is somehow still blaming the previous administration for this administration's problems. Let's think back on Trump's campaign. Roll back the calendar, if you will. He promised to cut energy prices in half within the first 18 months of his term. Well, we're here, and instead, energy prices are up 25% in many cases. And Vance's nonsensical explanation is, well, we're coming from a position of strength because the previous administration was bad. What does that even mean? You can tell just how stupid he really thinks his listeners are. How could he think anyone would buy that? Literally, what does that mean? Gas prices are up, utility prices are up, healthcare costs are up, childcare costs are up, grocery costs are up. Where is the plan to deal with any of this? And it's interesting that he says the president is going to wind this war down soon. He's going to do some negotiations. It's all going to be good soon. Because the president also said he'd cut energy bills in half. He also said he would lower costs. Why should we believe him on this when he has lied about everything else this far?
While it's very frustrating to go to the pump and see what the price of gasoline looks like, that the benefit for oil producers and workers in those industries is significant enough that the GDP effect in the US is much smaller.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It is so painfully obvious how completely out of touch these guys are. It's apparently okay that you pay more at the pump because oil and gas companies are doing so well, it doesn't matter. What? What are we talking about? This is the most clear, naked expression of who this administration is actually working for that you will ever see. It is fine that gas prices are higher for the rest of us because the oil billionaires, the people Republicans actually care about at the end of the day, are doing well, and that's what matters. To summarize what we've heard so far, Roger Marshall told you your national security matters more than your pocketbook. JD Vance told you that all of this is actually Biden's fault from more than a year ago. Kevin Hassett is telling you that the oil companies are doing great, so cheer up. Not one of these people cares about you or lowering your costs. You are not even a consideration to them.
Do you think as they continue to double down, I guess, on this, and I guess circle the wagons around the president here, that there is a risk that they're going to peel off? They're already losing a lot of the independents. They're already losing Hispanic communities. But are they going to start to peel off people who would have otherwise remained pretty loyal to Trump?
Yeah, you know, like a lot of polls, when you get inside the numbers, it's very revealing. And consistently, those who are very much against the war are stronger than those who are very much for the war. And that intensity is really important. It's one thing to say, okay, I support the president. It's another, I am going to intensely support what he's doing. And I think that they're losing votes every day. And there's just really nothing about what Donald Trump is doing, I think, that appeals to people.
Lying to people about their grocery and gas bills only lasts so long. You can blame Biden for 15 plus months. You can tell people national security is more important than their pocketbook. You can go on Fox and explain that oil companies are doing great, so everybody should relax. But at some point, people are going to stop believing you. Because what you're saying is ridiculous. You cannot tell people that their pain isn't real for 15 months straight and then expect them to continue to support you. Let's talk about exactly what the Republican priority list is right now. They're able to spend $1 billion a day. I've said that number so much it doesn't even sound real to me anymore. $1 billion a day. Can you imagine what we could do for people if we spent that money here? $1 billion a day for 2 months on healthcare and food assistance and childcare and groceries. Imagine what we could do. But Trump doesn't care about that. Instead, he's gonna spend that money on a war nobody asked for, nobody wants. I mean, he's using that money to bomb kids. That's what that money is being spent on. And I don't want you to forget that in this same term, Trump's budget bill cut $1 trillion from Medicare and $500 billion from food assistance. He is cutting your benefits to fund this war. And then on top of that, you're faced with higher gas prices, higher energy prices. And what does this administration do about that? They tell you, well, it's actually not so bad because at least oil companies are doing well. The Trump administration has, from the beginning, only looked out for themselves and their billionaire friends. It has never been, and it will never be about you.